Hey, what is up, mortals? Welcome to Season 1 Part 6 of What If Deku Had a Villain Quirk. I just wanted to greet you guys by just saying, sit back and relax, you're in for a treat. So, we begin. The trio of hero students walked to the shore, Asui having jumped just before it. Izuku began to mutter to himself about how their ludicrous plan had actually worked, promptly cut off by Tsu as she declared it to be rather creepy. She suggested to her classmate that instead of second-guessing their choices, they proceed to come up with another plan. Harlequin eyes scan the area as he points along the shoreline, estimating that if they followed it, they could make it to the exit while avoiding the central plaza completely and successfully return with proper assistance. The only female in the group expressed agreement at the statement as thoughts of how Aizawa was faring against those villains began to fill Midoriya's head. If he doesn't get some backup, then he's just going to overexert himself. The teen said, expressing his thoughts he'll end up defeated by those villains because he was trying to keep us safe. His two teammates caught on with what he was saying, Minda instantly stating that he was insane. The jungle-haired boy tried to explain that they didn't have to jump into the fight, but if they managed to ambush a few villains around the perimeter to lighten their teacher's load. Meanwhile, within the landslide zone, a heterochromatic boy walked along frozen villains, a neutral look on his face as he journeyed deep into thought. Shoto began reviewing all that he knew, pondering how those villains planned to kill All Might, acknowledging how he at first thought they had assembled a mass of heinous criminals to do that but dismissed it as he dodged a blow from behind and froze the attacker. He knew that 4 to 5 of the villains were the only capable ones there, but that he also needed more information in order to draw up the correct plan. He turned to the group of frozen villains with a scathing look. Listen well. If you stay frozen, your cells will slowly die as your bodies succumb to frostbite and hypothermia. The word struck disbelief into the heathens as he continued. Luckily for you, I want to be a hero, so I'd like to avoid any unnecessary cruelty. But I can only do that if you tell me how you plan to kill All Might. That's the only way you'll survive. A scream of terror echoed out from the mountain zone as a lightning-haired boy dodged a blow from a colossal villain, commenting on seeing his life flash before his eyes, and he took a stand next to 2 of his classmates. Kyokajiru was deflecting blows from a villain with a machete while Yamomo was doing so with a bow staff. Yaoyorozu quickly cut off his panicking as she yelled that they needed to get away from the situation as soon as humanly possible. Denki attempted to ask for a weapon, only for the punk girl next to him to, in blunt terms, shut up and just use his electricity quirk to fry the enemies in front of them. The male let out a cry of frustration as he reminded her of the combat training they had done together. I can cover my body with electricity, but if I try to shoot it out, it goes everywhere. He gives a small, brief demonstration. If I tried, I'd fry you all too. Unless you were hoping for shock treatment. In what could only be seen as a combination of frustration, intelligence, and passive-aggressive behavior, the earphone-eared girl kicked Kaminari into a villain who was promptly and painfully electrocuted as the one doing the electrocution complimented his classmates' quick thinking, earning a simple comment on how exhausting he was. Several villains attempted to assist their comrade by attacking the boy, only to be captured or disarmed by his 2 classmates and join in the electrocution circle. Jiru plugged her earphone jacks into her boots and began blasting forth her heartbeat as a deafening sound towards their adversaries. Yaoyorozu suddenly disarms a villain coming from above before hunching over, a glow emanating from her back as she created what looked like a blanket, earning her taunts. Actually, you're looking at a sheet of insulation about 100 millimeters thick. Kaminari. She eyes the boy next to them and winks as he smirk forms on his face. No longer having to hold back, he let loose a potent discharge of electricity, frying all the villains in the vicinity. The taller female expressed concern over her classmates, dismissing her more coherent classmates' worries about her costume as Denki stumbles around like an idiot after short-circuiting his brain. Behind them, a hand quietly shoots up from the ground without them noticing. Returning to the squad of Izuku, Tsuyu, and Minta, the trio were rising carefully out of the zone, peeking over to see their teacher easily taking out enemies left and right. The scraggly-haired hand villain from earlier suddenly charged forward at Eraserhead, a plan already formulated in his mind as the hero before him collided into a hold with him. It was hard to see when you were jumping around, but I found your tell. It's your hair. The villain's words caused Shota's eyes to widen. When it drops, it means you stopped using your quirk. You're having to blink more often. Don't push yourself too hard now, you might just fall apart. Wouldn't that be a shame? As the deranged man spoke, the clothes around the spot he held 1A's teacher disintegrated, the decay then spreading painfully to his elbow. Midoriya quietly gasped in shock and stood straight up from his hunched position as his teacher kicked Shigaraki away. He then proceeded to dodge the villains that attempted to finish him off in his injured state, clutching his damaged arm. The blue-haired psychopath rose from where he was sent flying as he taunted the pro-hero before him, commenting on his weakness in fighting big groups and how much better he was at stealth attacks. As the man continued talking, a tired Aizawa quickly dealt with the villains nearest to him before turning back to the monologuing figure. Oh, and by the way, hero. The erasure hero felt a presence behind him and quickly snapped around. I am not the final boss. The students watched as the abomination attacked their teacher, a splatter of blood sailing through the air. Horror was etched onto each and every one of their faces as grotesque sounds echoed into the air. At the entrance of the facility, 13 was currently using her quirk to prevent the misty-bodied fiend from teleporting anyone else. Such an astounding power, however, you're a rescue hero 13, skilled at saving people from disasters. Consequently, that means you have little fighting experience. A warp gate suddenly popped into existence behind the rescue pro as her own quirk was used against her. How unfortunate, you turned yourself into dust. The projection of the quirk stopped as the pro apologized to the students around her as Sato shouted for Ada to go who, after a brief moment of hesitation, took off at blinding speeds. The warping mastermind noticed and was quick to open a gate right in front of the teen. He turned his foot as he valiantly tried to stop, until Shoji charged forward and caught the vaporous form in front of Tenya, allowing him to once more take off. An angry voice boomed as the entirety of the fog stretched itself forward to engulf the speedy student. A villain erupted from the ground elsewhere, announcing its presence to the pupils in the landslide zone. Todoroki was sprinting away, mind moving even faster than he was, and the trio of students at the center plaza could only stand still in shock. The insane hand-covered villain introduced the monstrous form, pinning a bloody Eraserhead to the ground. He's a bioengineered enemy of the symbol of peace, but you can call him Namu. The beaked monstrosity opened its jaw to let out a disgusting cry. In the collapse zone, Bakugo made short work of the villains attacking him. Kirishima easily dealt with the one who attempted to fight him as well. Crimson eyes from the blonde darted around briefly, declaring that they seemed to have taken care of all of the felons attacking them. All right, let's hurry and find the rest of our class. If we're still in the USJ, then everyone else probably is too, and not all of them have the offensive skills we do. The scarlet-haired youth began to think of what actions had brought them here. We gotta make sure they're safe, especially since we screwed things up when we got in the way earlier. If 13 had been able to suck up that villain, we never would have been separated like this. We have to make it up to the others. Katsuki told Aijuru he would have to look for them on his own as he was going after the golden-eyed portal master. This shocked the other boy who tried to talk him out of it, only to be angrily dismissed as the blonde pointed out that the villain was their way in and out, and by taking him out they would be stuck. The hand of the explosive teenager grabbed something invisible and let loose a merciless explosion, revealing some sort of camouflaged attacker. The two briefly talked between themselves before the shark-toothed male smiled, claiming that he knew what his friend was trying to say was that he believed that their fellow classmates could handle themselves, declaring him manly for thinking so. Elsewhere, in the squall and fire zones, Ajiro and Takoyami and Koda were fighting off villains trying to slowly reduce their numbers. An equal effort was put forth back at the trance with Ochako grabbing some sort of armor piece that the warping creep was wearing and tossing it high into the air to buy Tenya more time. The Hero Legacy student reached the doors and slowly pried them open, Zero and Sato also pitching in to prevent the villain from getting to their schoolmate. The teen successfully exited the building and used a boost to go to call backup, which was picked up by the gold-eyed fog villain who knew their attack would soon be over. At the center of the plaza, a cry of pain echoed from the greasy-haired teacher of one as the disgusting entity crushed his arm in its grasp. He attempted to erase the quirk of the thing only for another one of his bones to be snapped like a twig. The thing picked up his head and nonchalantly slammed it into the ground, leaving a 3 inches deep crater. Minda quietly whispered in horror as Asui sunk into the water, Izuku shaking next to them as the shortest one suggested that they quickly leave. From nothing, the misty form, identified as Kurogiri by Tamura, who was quick to inform that a student had escaped from his grasp. This clearly panicked the man who began nervously scratching at his neck, knowing they wouldn't be able to win if dozens of pros began showing up on the scene. The three felt a small pulse of relief, a big one in Minoru's case as he hugged Sue, groping her breast and promptly being shoved wholly underwater. She pointed out something was awfully suspicious about this and Midoriya agreed. He began analyzing their situation and made note of how surely the villains would know that UA would beef up their security, and that All Might, whom they wished to kill, was obviously going to show up. Suddenly, glaring red eyes peer behind a hand as he lunges forward, commenting on how they would break the symbol of peace, clearly aiming to use his quirk on the frog-quirked student. He reached out and touched her, and nothing happened. He let out a humorless laugh as he commented on how cool Eraserhead was, the man erasing his quirk before any harm would come to the girl, acting quickly and on instinct. Izuku let loose a plume of gas right at the villain. Sue and Minta dive underwater. He knew they would be incapacitated if they breathed in his toxin, unlike himself who had a natural immunity to it. "I'll be fine, just do it." The shorter boy needed no further prodding while the female hesitated and her eyes widened as she pointed a warning to her friend, causing him to turn and see the tar-skinned beast standing in front of him as the gas began to dissipate, Shigaraki still coughing. The hell was that? Some sort of gas quirk? He coughed a few more times as he paused before laughing. I don't feel any different at all. I'm guessing you must have some sort of smokescreen quirk. You're still not getting away. Namu harshly grabbed Izuku as the man reached out to use his quirk on the brunette girl still in noir. When a giant boom of sound echoed throughout the USJ facility, the figure of All Might drawing attention as he stepped into the building with a scowl on his face. Looks like our game is getting to continue. Thank you all for indulging yourselves in the story thus far. I hope you enjoyed it. Firstly, we've got a second channel called Anime Deep Dive. Anime Deep Dive goes deep into the facts and lore of a wide variety of anime. It's sure to expand your weeb knowledge for all kinds of series guaranteed. It's what we do on this channel already, but in the vast world and lore of Naruto. Go check it out if you're in the mood for some jutsu action. Secondly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details will be in the description below. Lastly, if you're interested in what we do here at We the Celestials, then I would like to extend out an invitation to join the team. The only caveat being we only accept members 16 years and up to join our crew. You can sign up for whichever category fulfills your interests by joining the recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. Our Discord is an all-around fantastic place to be. Whether you're a fan or looking to join our band of misfits, we're always looking for members to join us. Well, that's it from us for today's video. So, thank you all for watching, and have a great day.